Hey everybody, time for another update on how things are going. So it's been almost 2 weeks, really, since I got one of these out. I've been trying to get one out all week, and it's always been something which is good, because business is good. I've been trying to make parts on our new mill, and so I'll flip around and show you that, though I've already shut it down for the evening now. And really, we're having pretty good luck. So I made some little adapters like that. Made some more of our pull pin switches. And then I just finished some of these Delrin parts. See, there's an O-ring there, so I had to cut an O-ring groove in it. And these are circuit board retainers that go inside a tube into a downhole assembly for a well. And these turned out really nicely. They just look really slick. The tool paths worked out really well, and the finish is just excellent. The mill has really been a pleasure to use. It makes parts so fast. Things that would have taken half an hour or more on the Tormach take 5 minutes on the Haas. And really that's a huge time savings for me. And I can trust it to repeat over and over again. Really that wasn't a huge issue with the Tormach, but I always wanted to be close by just because it is more of a hobby machine. This mill, it just does it over and over. So I made some soft jaws, put some parts in it, and once it runs successfully a couple times, I feel pretty comfortable pressing the button and walking around to the other side to saw some stock or whatever else I need to do. So overall, I've been really, really pleased with the mill. Getting to use it, getting the hang of the control took a little bit, but now I feel pretty comfortable with the control as well. It's not a point and click interface like a computer. It's very, very button intensive. And a little confusing, but once you get used to it, it's fine. So I'll flip it around, show you some of the tooling that we've got in there. And also, you may have noticed that these parts are orange. So they're anodized. Normally, I don't anodize a lot of my stuff because most anodizers have a minimum batch charge of like $150 or $200. I never have the minimum batch. Only once have I had the minimum batch. So I'm just throwing away money there for them to do a very small job. And also they don't have orange, many of them, and that's our color, right? It's orange. Black, red, blue, purple, those are all pretty common. So anyway, I decided to try anodizing myself. So I'll also show you that setup. It's turned out to work pretty well. I also lasered some of the dye off and made my logo in the parts. It looked pretty cool. I think I'll probably build a larger scale version of this. I did a very small proof of concept, and now that it works, I'm probably going to go ahead and scale that up. So let's take a look at the mill and take a look at the anodizing setup. So here's the mill. I just put it to bed for the night before I started the video. If I slide the door open, you can see in my 20-place tool changer, I've actually got 19 of the places occupied right now. Put a little bit of light in there. So we've got the probe, we've got a lot of end mills. I was using this key seat cutter here to do those O-ring grooves today. So it's getting tooled up nicely. I've still got some different tooling I want to put in it. I've been talking to a tooling rep about that. Changed some things out to have more multifunction tools. So I have less of I don't have a spot drill, a chamfer mill, and an engraving tool. I might have all those as one tool. And we've also, I think I may have showed some parts before. I started building some assemblies. So you can see the surface finish is quite nice. These are bolted with socket head cap screws here at the bottom. And this was all done on here in a very short cycle time. I mean, this plate was still under half an hour by a lot. These were just a couple minutes each. And that's for a prototype that's going out, and then if it gets approved, hopefully we'll be making a lot more of those. Though I do use a digital board, I've been using the whiteboard just to keep track of what stock is here for right now. I need to go ahead and get that fully digital. And, actually may talk about in a second, I've had some interesting analog versus digital challenges recently. So this is part of my anodizing setup. It's not very sophisticated, just got a little 2-burner hot plate at Walmart. This tank is sealer. This tank is dye. And then over here, we have an acid bath, a sodium hydroxide bath, and a neutralized bath. So basically what I did was take the aluminum, put it in the lye bath, and etch it. Then I would put it in the acid bath and pass power through it with my power supply. And I did that on a stir plate to keep everything agitated, to keep bubbles from forming on the surface of the part. After it comes out of the acid bath, we go into neutralize. And then after we neutralize and rinse, we come over here, we go into dye, and then we go into sealer. So it's a little bit of a process, and the temperature control of this hot plate is just not great. So I'm going to be making that better. I think I'm going to scale this up to either a 7.5 or a 13-gallon system. So significantly larger. Probably wire up some immersion heaters using my 220, the welder outlet over here, and some little PID controllers to get the temperature control down, and put in some bubblers in the tanks using my shop air. And then we should be able to anodize pretty big parts like that plate that I showed you a few minutes ago, which is the goal, is to be able to, that's going to a harsh environment on a volcano, and so we need to be able to anodize that. Okay, so the last thing that I said I was going to talk about, analog versus digital. So I've always been a very digital person. I got a little frustrated recently though when I wasn't having some calendar events sync between the appropriate calendars, so they didn't show up on my phone, but they would show up on the computer or on my iPad, but not on my phone, or it was frustrating. So I went out and bought a paper planner, and just, one that's got a page or a 2-page spread for every week. And I used that. This would be almost a week this weekend. And I'm struggling. I do like the tactile nature of it, but I don't always have it with me. And it's a little harder to time block on it since it just has a box for the day. I have to kind of mentally keep track of, okay, that's starting at 2, but I'll be done at 3:30, and it's here, so now I have to add drive time, whereas the digital calendar does that for me. So I'm using both currently, which is not the sustainable way to do this. So that's going to be an interesting adventure to see. I will probably end up migrating back to the digital, but I have to fix something about how all my accounts work and how syncing works. So we'll see how that goes. I also migrated the business email away from just having the email hosted on Hover as an email server only to G Suite from Google. So now we can have Google Docs, Google Slides, Google Sheets shared, which right now it's just me and the intern. But we, of course, have the goal to expand. And I get the nice Gmail interface because desktop email applications none of them are that good. And I've tried about all of them. I just don't enjoy any of them compared to the Google interface. Also, it means if I continue expanding and having more machines, computers, I mean by that, I don't have to buy more Office licenses as long as each future employee has their own G Suite login. So I think that's probably going to be the way to go. I'm probably going to tend back towards my digital nature, but we'll see how it goes. The paper planner is not totally dead yet. I'm still using it. And if I end up not using it, then I'll give it to somebody who will for the rest of 2020. But for $18, it was a pretty low risk financially investment just to try it and see if I liked paper better. I've switched back and forth between task management systems that are on paper and digital sometimes. But now really when you're starting to work with other people, I think digital is pretty much what you have to do. It's just too hard to share paper. So those are some of the things that we've been dealing with here and making some awesome parts. I've also spent several days designing some circuit boards that are out to fab. And as soon as they come back from fab, I'll show you those. They're going to be pretty exciting. They will be operating high in the atmosphere, up to 100,000 feet. So until next week, I will talk to you later.